How can one forgot birthday turn into papers handed over under bright lobby lights? What happens when a quiet husband saves messages, marks calendars, and lets the law speak? Can a woman who says she had a right to closure with her ex survive the cost when the result lands in front of everyone? Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible stories. My name is Zuleika Maris. I was the wife who said birthdays are only dates on a screen. I told myself I needed closure with my ex, Cade. I said a talk in his bed was just comfort and honesty. While my husband, Owen, waited with a cake, I lay beside old noise and called it peace. I thought I could post a sweet caption the next day and fix any hurt. I believed I was modern. I believed he was rigid. Morning came like a cold lamp. Owen asked where I had been. I said I was working late. He asked why my phone died. I said the charger failed. I told him he hated parties anyway. I told him his mother never liked crowds. He listened without a scene. He wiped the counter clean and set our mugs on different sides. I took his quiet for surrender. At work, I smiled at members and checked my feed. A tagged photo showed Cade's couch and a sparkler cake. Comments asked about the date. I wrote that people twist context. My sister wrote that I should own the story. I said I would. I believed I could steer the truth. The hallway smelled like rain and old paint when I reached our door. I held my shoes in one hand and the keys in the other and told myself to look relaxed. I said I could still spin the night if I kept my face calm. The lock turned with a soft scrape. I stepped inside and met a small pool of kitchen light. The apartment felt too neat, like a hotel after housekeeping. On the counter, a plate stood with the remains of frosting. One candle melted to a dot. I thought about the sparkler at Cade's place and told myself a spark is a spark, no matter where it burns. I set down my bag and said I had been working late. I said the front desk at the co-working space had chaos. I added that the power had blinked and my phone had died. I did not look at the charger in my bag. Owen stood by the sink in a soft t-shirt, his shoulders steady, his hair still damp from a shower. He said I had missed cake. He said his sister had brought Theo by to sing. He said they had waited until 9. I answered that birthdays are only numbers on a screen, and real love is daily. I tried to laugh, but it sounded thin. He asked where I had been in the last 3 hours after my shift ended. I told him a friend needed help. I called my ex a friend. I said the friend had a bad night. I said I chose care. He looked at the plate again and said he heard me. I walked to the counter and touched the wax speck. I said he never liked big parties anyway. I said he hates noise. I said he has always preferred quiet dinners. He said he had planned a quiet one, with the little cake, because I had said I was tired. He added that he had lit the candle twice when he heard footsteps in the hall and then snuffed it when the footsteps passed our door. I looked at the dark window to avoid his face. I said the train had stalled in a tunnel. He nodded in a way that did not call me a liar and did not call me true. It was a nod that said he would let the facts land by themselves. On the table sat 2 mugs, side by side at first glance. Then I noticed he had placed them on opposite edges, one near the fridge, one near the dish rack, as if the middle was not safe ground. I slid mine closer to his. He slid his father away and said he would drink water instead. I told him he was being dramatic. He said he wanted sleep. He asked if we could talk in the morning when our heads were clear. I said mornings make problems look bigger. He said mornings make numbers and timelines easier to see. I opened the fridge to find something to do with my hands. A small box held berries he liked, and a paper wrap hid small cheeses I had once called fancy. He had bought them for his own birthday. I asked if his mother had judged the selection. He said his mother had brought bread and listened. He said she had not judged. I said she never liked me. He said she liked truth. My phone buzzed in my bag. I acted like I did not hear it. I told him the charger at work was broken. He looked at the cord in my open tote and said he hoped I could fix it soon. He set his own phone on the counter, the screen lit with a soft banner. It showed a calendar reminder with a clean line. Depot Cafe, 9:40 a.m. He slid the banner away and locked the screen. I asked if he had breakfast plans. He said he had errands. He said he would be out for a bit before his shift. I asked who he was meeting. He said the cafe has chairs and he has time. He did not smile. He did not raise his voice. He spoke like a person reading the weather from a map. I said I had tried to text during my shift. He said he had seen no messages. I said the network had died. He said he believed the network often chose the exact minutes I needed it to be dead. He did not say it to wound. He said it like a fact that had visited our house many times. I said his tone was unfair. He said his tone was quiet. He took a dish towel, wiped a clean circle on the counter, and folded the towel into a narrow line. He asked if I wanted a slice of cake. I said I was full. He said he would wrap it and leave it in the fridge. He used the little square of wax paper that sits in the drawer by the stamps. When I reached in to help, the drawer did not move. I pulled again. It stayed shut. I asked if it was stuck. He said he had locked it to keep important items together. I asked what items were now important. He said mail, stamps, and receipts. I said receipts were an obsession. He said receipts were memory that does not change its story. I walked to the sink and made a point of rinsing my hands. My wrists smelled faintly of a citrus soap that was not ours. I told myself it came from the bar at work. I told myself people share soap in public bathrooms. I tossed that thought away and spoke softly about closure. I said Cade had needed words, just words, about our past. I said he had begged for advice. I said a good person does not leave someone alone in crisis. Owen said he agreed that we should not leave people in crisis. He said he had not wanted to be alone with a candle and a small cake. He said he would have still chosen to be alone rather than fight. He said he wanted to keep the night calm. I changed the subject fast. I said he hates birthdays. He said he hates public attention. He said candles at home are not public. He said a card with my handwriting is not a crowd. He lifted the small box that held a gift he had purchased for himself weeks ago and set it on a high shelf without opening it. I felt a flicker of anger that he had bought himself something. I heard my own mind try to build a case against him with that flicker. I told myself to stop and aim elsewhere. The co-working lobby photo from earlier flashed in my memory. Cade's sneaker on the couch cushion, the sparkler's white light, my bare ankle caught by someone's camera at the edge of the frame. I pushed the picture out of my head and said the day had simply been long. Owen said long days happen. Lies do not need to happen with them. He said he would sleep now. He pointed to the guest bed down the hall. I asked if he planned to use it. He said he needed rest. I said it sounded like punishment. He said it sounded like sleep in a room with a closed door. I followed him to the bedroom and stood at the threshold. The guest bed was made too neatly, like a sample in a store. I asked if we could share the bed and talk quietly. He said we could talk tomorrow. He said he wanted to say nothing unkind tonight. I said silence can be cruel. He said shouting is crueler. He picked up his phone from the dresser and turned off the alarm for the morning. Then he set another alarm and named it something I could not read before the screen went dark. I asked if he would come back to the kitchen. He said goodnight. I went back to the main room and opened my bag. My phone still buzzed once and died, not from power, but because I pressed the side button with a guilty thumb. I sat on the couch and scrolled through the old messages anyway. Cade had sent a short line about missing my laugh. He had added a heart I did not plan to show to anyone. Rena had posted a story with the caption, "Own the night." I wrote back that I would own it tomorrow with a smart caption about modern love. She sent a string of crowns and told me to stop apologizing for being alive. The clock on the stove read 12:38. The cake plate was wrapped. The candle stub lay like a fallen match beside a napkin. The room hummed with the fridge and the far traffic. I thought about the Depot Cafe reminder and saw the white tiles and the small wooden chairs in my mind. I wondered who would be there at 9:40. I told myself it was his mother and maybe her knitting bag. I told myself he would cry to her in a quiet way, and she would pat his hand and say words that made me look like a shadow. The thought made my chest warm and sour. I told myself to stand. I rinsed my face in the bathroom and changed into the soft shirt I wear when I want to look harmless. I walked back out and found Owen in the doorway. Not closer, not farther, just there. He asked if I needed the blanket from the shelf. I said I was fine. He said he hoped that was true. He set the blanket on the back of the couch anyway and pointed to the thermostat. He said the heat would turn off around 3 and come back at 5. It was the kind of practical line he uses when he wants to be kind without opening a door to a talk. He moved to the kitchen and turned off the light over the stove. He left the small lamp on by the books, the one that pools warm light on the floor. He said goodnight again. Not cold, not warm. I said goodnight with a tone that asked him to look back. He did not look back. He walked down the hall. The guest room door made a soft sound when it closed. No slam, no scrape. The apartment smelled like sugar and candle smoke and rain. I sat for a long time and made speeches in my head. In my best version, I told him that Cade had cried, that I had been noble, that love between adults is flexible. In my worst version, I told him he did not know how to be exciting, that I was young once and would not be again if I waited for him to plan anything. Both versions made me feel hollow. I stood and opened the fridge and held the cold box of the cake without eating. I put it back. I went to the window and watched the street. Mrs. Alvarez from 4B crossed with a little dog. She looked up once, then down at the leash. I stepped back from the glass and told myself I was not hiding. I wrapped the blanket around my legs and opened my phone again. The battery was still high. I pressed the side button so it would look dead if he walked in. Shame is a quiet engineer. It builds without asking. Near 1 a.m, I heard Owen's phone buzz from the guest room. It was a soft, polite sound that did not mean panic. My body still jumped. I reminded myself he has co-workers and alarms. I told myself it had nothing to do with me. The apartment returned to its gentle hum. My eyes burned and would not close. I wrote a caption in my notes app about birthdays being every day and love needing flexibility. I used the word modern 3 times. I deleted it once and then wrote it again. I woke from a thin, ugly half-sleep to the sound of water in the bathroom and the click of the light switch. Owen moved like a person on a dock before sunrise, quiet and practiced. He came into the main room with his keys in one hand and his wallet in the other. The scarf he wears in cold weather hung from his neck like a line drawn straight down. He checked the counter and put the spare key where we always put it. He glanced at my lump on the couch under the blanket. He asked if I needed anything from the store. I said no. He said he would be back later. He picked up his phone from the table. The screen woke and showed the calendar card again for a second before he touched it away. Depot Cafe, 9:40 a.m. He dismissed the alert and slid the phone into his pocket. The blue light from the screen made his face look like he was standing under water. He put on his coat. He did not say where to meet him later. He did not ask where I would be. He only said we would talk soon and that he would keep today quiet. I watched him walk to the door. He paused and straightened the mail stack on the entry table with 2 fingers. One small motion to make things neat. He turned the lock gently so it would not wake the neighbors. As the door opened, a draft crossed the room and lifted the corner of a sticky note on the desk that read, "Bring forms." I stared at the note and told myself, forms are nothing, just bills. He stepped into the hall. His shoes made almost no sound on the carpet. The door closed without a slam. A second later, I heard a soft vibration on the table behind me, like a moth in a drawer. His phone, still on the counter from last night before he picked it up. No. The sound had come from my bag. I pulled out my phone. A message preview sat on the lock screen from an unknown number, numbers only, no name. It said simply, "See you at 9:40. Unknown number message preview while the door clicks shut. Morning turned the co-working space into glass and buzz. I arrived early, told myself a neat desk meant a neat mind, and lined up the visitor passes. The lobby plants looked too green for my mood. I set my bag down and practiced my smile in the reflection of the entry doors. I decided to act like control lived in my pocket. The first members came in with laptops and coffee breath. I greeted them with my bright voice and moved my hands like a flight attendant, pointing to exits no one would use. My phone rested face down beside the keyboard. I kept it that way to feel loyal to my own story. The unknown number from last night still sat in my head, like a coin under the tongue. I told myself it was a spam reminder, and not the Depot Cafe person. Owen had left before sunrise and had not texted again. I told myself silence meant a pause, not a plan. By 9, the space filled. A designer I liked came to the counter and asked about printer credits. I handled her with a warm tone and then opened the scheduling app. Between clicks, I checked my notifications. A tag had appeared from a friend of a friend. A boomerang loop of a sparkler on a cake, Cade's couch in the background. The caption used a birthday emoji and my handle. I felt my throat go dry, and then I told myself that a sparkler could be any day. I muted the tag and pressed back to the calendar. Mr. Patel walked by with a folder and a calm face. He said he might need a minute after the morning rush. I said I would be ready. He nodded without judgment, as if he were measuring phone lines on a wall. 2 members in the coffee line whispered. One held up a phone at chest level, looked, and slid it away. I stacked guest cards to look busy. I decided to claim the narrative first. I posted a filtered photo of the lobby plants with a caption about late shifts and flexible love. I wrote that some couples avoid pressure by keeping birthdays low-key. I did not use names. Hearts blinked. Rena sent a crown and 3 fire emojis and told me to own the week. I said I already was. She typed that people fear women who move forward. I agreed with a heart and a lightning bolt, then put the phone face down again as if that made the post holy. At 9:30, 2 regulars stopped near the snack shelf and looked my way longer than usual. One asked if I had had a good weekend. I said I had worked most of it and then rested. She said she had seen a funny video of a cake on a couch and someone's ankle in the frame. She asked if that ankle was mine. I said, people love to guess, and I said the internet likes to stir. She laughed politely and said she needed more oat milk in the fridge. I wrote a sticky note for the runner and placed it on the board as if nothing inside me had moved. Slack pinged on my monitor with a thread named follow-up. The operations assistant had pasted a screenshot from a neighborhood forum. The screenshot showed the same sparkler clip and a comment asking if front desk staff should be party influencers while representing co-working values. My name was not in the text, but my handle was visible in a reply that said the ankle looked like mine. I typed a long defense about private life and modern marriages, then deleted it. I wrote a short line about keeping personal accounts separate from work and hit send. My hands shook for 3 seconds after. A member in a red blazer approached the counter with a question about meeting rooms. She glanced at my monitor and then back at me, as if adjusting her tone on the fly. I gave her a warm, exact answer and added a highlighter to her booking sheet. The printer in the alcove hummed alive as she walked away. I told the intern to check the toner. He said it was fine. He gave me a thumbs up that looked like a kid trying on a uniform. Cade sent a small message, a triangle emoji and the words, later. I stared at the screen and chose to ignore it. I told myself I was being good. I told myself you can be good in the morning and complicated in the afternoon. The thought disgusted me and then cooled, like tea left out. Mr. Patel came back with his folder and said we should have a quick word in the HR room. His voice was gentle and managerial. I said now was fine. He gestured toward the hallway. On the way past the coffee machine, a member with a camera bag lifted the strap and said she hoped I'd gotten rest after the birthday weekend. I said, "Rest finds those who deserve it." The line sounded smart in my head and brittle out loud. The HR room was small, with a lemon wipe smell and a cooler set 1 degree too cold. Mr. Patel closed the door and sat in the low chair across from me. He said clients like my calm voice and that I keep the morning smooth. He then said there had been a few mentions of my social posts in a neighborhood parent group and asked if I could keep a low profile for a bit. He said donors and enterprise members sometimes search staff names. I said I never tagged the company. He thanked me for that, and then added that association still happens in people's heads. I said people should separate lanes. He said the real world rarely does. He asked if everything at home was calm. I said my husband dislikes public fuss, and that I support that. I said we had an understanding about private space. He asked if the understanding was working. I said we were modern. He folded his hands and looked at a corner, not at me, in the way adults do, when they want to protect a person's dignity while saying a hard thing. He said he had to ask me to avoid posting from the space for a while and to consider stepping back from anything that might pull the brand into attention storms. I nodded, with a face that said I was generous. Inside, a little iron weight set itself on my ribs. My phone buzzed again. A tag from a party account went live. Cade at the club 2 nights ago, my shoulder just in frame, the caption hinting at a redo birthday. I turned the phone over on my knee and did not react. Mr. Patel watched my hands. I said it was an old clip posted late. He said timing does not always help context. He asked if I needed time off. I said I needed focus, not time. We left the HR room. At the lobby, a mother with a stroller asked about day passes. She spoke briskly, then dropped her voice to ask if I knew a man named Cade, because her teen had shown her a clip that looked like me. I said the internet recycles things and that my life was private. She nodded and said the space value's calm, then filled out the form. I called Owen from behind the pillar by the print alcove and said work was acting like my posts were crimes. He said he wanted the week quiet and hoped I would keep our home offline. I said a single calming post would help everyone. He said posts feed fire. I said the forum would decide if we were weak. He said the forum did not live in our kitchen. I said he sounded like his mother. He said he sounded like himself. He added that he could talk later. His tone stayed level. When he hung up, the air felt sharper around my shoulders. Rena texted a script for a bold caption about owning mistakes without shame. She told me to add a line about supporting friends in crisis to make the birthday thing look noble. I typed posting soon and dropped a heart. A coworker rolled by with a mail cart and a thin, unsealed envelope slipped toward the edge. I pushed it back into the stack and felt a strange chill at the neatness of it. I glanced at the wall calendar by the kitchenette. A date 2 weeks out was circled in red from some operations reminder. Next to it, a sticky note read, "Pickup forms." I felt watched by paper. I told myself I was being dramatic. I opened the browser and searched for a spa, then for storage options, then closed both tabs when footsteps approached. Slack pinged again. I minimized the window mid-edit. 2 teens with day passes asked where to print. I showed them the alcove, reminded them to select the right cue, and stepped aside. The larger printer woke with a thrum and pulled paper through. It paused. A single blank page slid into the tray with a soft slap, as if something had been sent and then cancelled at the last second. The intern said it did that sometimes when a job timed out. I nodded and felt the hairs on my arm stand. A member from a fintech booth walked by and gave me a look that was half smile, half smirk. He asked if the parties had been fun. I said my weekends were quiet. His smirk softened. He said, "Quiet is rare," and walked on. I decided in that second to post nothing until lunch, then fix everything with a strong frame. Mr. Patel reappeared with his folder, hugged to his chest, and said he had a quick question about the afternoon visitor list. His tone was still mild. I followed him toward the HR room again, ready to act helpful. As we crossed the hall, my phone buzzed with a new tag, a still image of Cade's couch with 2 plates, time-stamped with Owen's birthday night. Someone had added a caption about celebrating correctly. The picture sat on my screen like a stone. Mr. Patel held the door. From the alcove behind us, the printer spooled up again and pushed another blank page into the tray, a clean white sheet sliding out into a silence that felt too loud. Manager asks for a quick word while the printer spools and spits a blank page. The club patio smelled like sugar smoke and spilled soda. String lights hung low and made soft halos on faces. I told myself the night would fix the morning. I said a strong room would push the whispers back. Cade leaned on the rail and watched the river. He said the view was ours. I said the night was a redo. He asked if my husband knew I was here. I said Owen hated crowds and liked sleep. Cade smirked and said old love needs air. I told him fresh air was the patio and older air was the dance floor. The music thumped through the wall and held my chest like a hand. Talia arrived in a silver top and said I looked recovered. She asked if the birthday talk at work had settled. I said, people fear bold women. She said the cure was a clean clip. She pointed her phone at my face and told me to give a line about freedom. I said love needs room to breathe. She nodded and added 3 hearts to the story. The red dots of other phones lit around us like little eyes. I stood taller and decided tall meant right. Cade bought 2 drinks and pressed one into my hand. He said the city liked a comeback. I said this was not a comeback, it was a correction. He asked if the correction included him. I said I had always told him the truth. I missed how he made me feel. He asked if I missed how he behaved when pressure came. I said pressure was for pipes, not people. He laughed without warmth and said I always turned words into fog. Owen walked in from the alley door and stopped near the top of the steps. He wore his work jacket and looked like someone who had just left a long shift. He said he wanted to talk outside for 5 minutes. I said the timing was bad because the crowd wanted a toast. He said we could talk now, or not at all tonight. I told him not at all sounded like a threat. He said it sounded like a boundary. The word boundary felt like a fence I wanted to kick. A group near the heat lamp called for a toast. Someone asked if we were celebrating the real birthday this time. I said we were celebrating growth. A woman in a red dress asked if Owen agreed. I said Owen supported my care for friends. He said he did not give permission to rewrite history. I said no one needed permission to be kind. A few people laughed to keep the air light. The laughs made me feel brave and also very alone. Cade lifted his glass and said second chances are underrated. He clinked mine. I said closure is a kind of love. Owen set his drink on the ledge and said closure is a private word. I said privacy is a costume insecure people wear. He said privacy is respect. I told him respect had many shapes. He asked if one of the shapes was lying on his birthday. I said the timing was unfortunate and the situation complex. He looked at the string lights as if they were a map. Talia whispered that I should pull Cade in for a cleaner frame. She said I needed a ring of happy faces. I turned to Cade and asked him to say I was brave. He said I was loud. I said loud keeps love alive. He said love keeps love alive. I ignored the line and raised my glass higher. The phones followed my hand like birds. A young man with a camera asked for a line he could subtitle. I said modern couples avoid pressure by staying fluid. He asked if fluid meant other beds. I said fluid meant trust. Owen said trust means not missing cake. I said cake can be any day. He said birthdays are not. Cade pulled at his sleeve and looked at the door. I felt the circle tilt toward him and pressed my shoulder against his arm to claim space. He went still and let the contact hang like a flag in no wind. My phone buzzed. A preview flashed on Cade's screen at the same time. On mine, a triangle emoji came from an unknown contact. On his, the same triangle appeared and then vanished as he tapped the message away. I asked if that was the same person from before. He said it was nothing. I said nothing always arrives with timing. He did not answer. He turned the phone face down. Rena texted from the bar and asked if she should start a chant. I wrote yes and added a crown. She stepped out, raised her arm, and shouted for a birthday toast. Done right. People cheered because cheering is easy. I smiled like a host. I said we honor a man by letting a room love his wife. A few faces stiffened. Someone murmured that the wife should have been home. I said home has many doors. The sentence sounded smart in my mouth and brittle in the air. Owen tried again. He said we should leave and talk. I said he could stay and listen. He said he would not be content. I said content helps families. He asked which family I meant when I said that. I said ours. He said ours felt thin. Talia told me to wrap the bit. She said attention drops fast if you do not land the plane. I stepped onto the little wooden box by the heater to gain height. I said my husband is private and strong, and I said he understands that friendship can survive a marriage. Owen said friendship can, but deceit cannot. I said there was no deceit. He said his birthday cake thought otherwise. Cade cleared his throat and said we should keep it light. He added that the club did not pay us to teach classes. He smiled at the circle and backed away a half step. I followed an inch, and then I stopped. I did not like the feel of following. The DJ changed tracks. The bass hit low and soft. People swayed without leaving their spots. A man in a cap lifted his phone higher and asked if I would repeat my closing line. I said, love needs air. Control needs walls. I choose air. Several phones recorded. Someone near the door laughed in a short, hard way. Owen stood still with his hands in his pockets, like a person who had finished a long sentence and would not add another word. Cade leaned close and said we should go downstairs to the dance floor where the cameras were less pushy. I said I liked the eyes. He said eyes turn into knives when money or shame enters. I said shame was a choice. He said consequences are not. The words slid under my skin. I told him he sounded like a sermon. He said he sounded like a person who keeps his job. I looked over the rail. Through the alley glass, I saw my reflection and Owen's behind me, not touching, not speaking. I told myself control was appearance. If we looked fine, we were fine. I asked Owen to stand closer for the last shot. He said no. I said I would post anyway. He said the internet was not our judge. I said maybe it was. Security pushed through the patio to clear a walkway. The guard asked people to make space for a delivery tray. I stepped aside and smiled. The group shifted. Phones stayed up like a small forest. Talia tried to call for one more cheer. It came weak and brief. My chest felt hollow and bright at once. I told myself this was power. I also told myself this was hunger. Cade's phone buzzed again. He tapped the screen fast. The preview vanished. He said he had to step out for a call. I said he could take it here. He said he needed quiet. I said the deck was quiet enough. He said the river speaks. He moved toward the edge where the little gate led to the stairs. I felt a cold line run down my back. I said he should stay. He did not answer. He touched the gate and paused, like a person listening for orders in his own head. Owen looked at me and said he would go if I wanted to stay. I said I wanted him to learn how to live with eyes. He said he did not need that skill. He nodded to Talia and thanked her for checking on everyone's glasses. He did not look at Cade. He turned toward the door. For a heartbeat, the music dipped under the chatter. The night held its breath. The bouncer reached the heavy patio door and pushed for the caterer's path. Metal touched metal. The sound was small and exact and louder than the music for me. The latch kissed the strike plate and made a clean click, while several phones kept recording and a few faces turned to see who would leave first. Patio door latch clicks, while the crowd films and Owen steps away. The family restaurant felt too bright for honesty. Paper streamers hung over a long table, and someone had slid coloring sheets under all the kids' plates. I arrived late with a glossy bag and a smile I had practiced in the elevator mirror. Marla sat near the head, steady as a clock on a quiet wall. Owen helped the server move 2 high chairs and thanked her in that even voice that could carry a whole room without effort. I said traffic had trapped me. I added that I had picked up the better candles, the kind that sparkle, because our last set had failed. No one asked for proof. I set the bag by Theo and called it a joint gift from us. Cousins filled the seats and broke bread into soft pieces. Rena slid in beside me and whispered that my skin looked amazing. She asked if the club video had helped or hurt. I said neither. I said people panic when a woman lives modern. She nodded like she had known that all her life. I felt my shoulders square and decided the table would accept that tone if I kept it steady. The server poured water. I launched a short speech about second chances and busy weeks. I said, birthdays are daily when love is real. A cousin across the table asked if that belief had placed me on a couch with a sparkler cake the same night Owen waited at home. I laughed and said the clip was old, reposted. Another cousin asked if it was old in the way that still lands on the right date. I said the internet lies more than people. That sentence sounded strong in my head and weak over plates. Marla's hand stayed calm around her napkin. She asked if we could give Theo a simple day with light talk. I said light talk meant not shaming women for caring for friends. Owen's eyes moved from the bread to the coloring sheet. He asked the server for extra napkins. He thanked her again when they arrived. I hated that his kindness made me feel like a person with a loud coat in a library. The pizza came. Children laughed over the first slice. I opened the glossy bag and slid the gift toward Theo. He looked at Owen first. Owen told him the ribbon looked strong, and that strong kids lift strong things. Theo laughed and lifted. The table loosened for a minute. I breathed easier and told myself the room was ready for guidance. I said I had gone to see someone who needed me, and I said the timing was hard, but the intention was clean. A cousin asked if the someone was my ex. I said labels limit care. Another asked if the someone slept at my place that night. I said people can share rooms without sin. The cousin's eyebrows climbed, then settled. I wished I could pull the words back into the bag with the shredded ribbon. Rena tried to help. She said I had always supported friends in crisis, and that modern couples make their own rules. She bumped my shoulder and added a crown under the table with her thumb on her phone. Marla looked at the phone, then at me. She said, children watch the adults for the shape of truth. I said truth is more than dates and candles. Owen breathed out and kept his eyes on the coloring sheet. He asked Theo what color would make the sky on the page look like a wish. Theo picked blue. I took my moment. I told the table that Owen hates parties, so the birthday had never been his zone. I added that he had changed the dinner time and not told me in time. Owen did not look up. He said the time had not changed. My mouth kept going anyway. I said pressure makes people mess up. I said I had chosen self-care to be a better wife later. A cousin coughed into a napkin that did not need coughing. Theo's feet tapped the chair rung. He looked at me with that clear child face and asked why I had missed Uncle Owen's cake. He said his friend at school told him I was with an old boyfriend instead. The table went still as glass. Forks hovered. The sound of the soda machine near the bar felt too loud for a second. Marla folded her napkin once more. She watched me without heat. I said grown-ups sometimes help friends, and I said children do not need to understand everything. Theo asked if helping means staying in someone's bed. Rena stared at her plate. A cousin put down a slice. My throat felt thin and hot. I said the couch in the video was a joke, and I said the timing had confused people. Owen told Theo that adults make mistakes, and that care means keeping promises when people plan a candle. His voice was gentle enough to sting. I changed the air with my hands, like I could push the moment away. I said the point was that I am still here. and we are still brave. Marla asked if brave meant careless. I said brave meant strong enough to face a crowd. She said brave also means closing the door and speaking truth without a camera. She turned to the server and asked for the candle box. The teenager with the lighter came from the prep station and waited for the queue. I lifted my phone for a quick story frame. Marla touched my wrist, not hard, and asked if we could have 1 minute without posting. Her touch felt like a line on the floor. I set the phone down and pretended that had been my plan. As the lights dimmed, a notification slid over Owen's phone, face up on the table. Riverside, 12:45 p.m. He tapped it away and turned the phone face down. The small motion landed heavy. Rena glanced at me. I told myself Riverside could be a park or a cafe, or a bench where he sat with his mother. I told myself plans are normal. The thought still ate a small round hole in my stomach. We sang. Theo closed his eyes and made a wish that sounded like hope in the shape of a breath. The teenager flicked the lighter. The flame tried and failed, a thin spark that died as fast as it came. He flicked again. A soft hiss crossed the table when the flame collapsed a second time. The sound sliced the quiet. Theo giggled and asked if the fire was shy. Owen said small flames need patient air. He said they live longer when you do not rush them. It sounded like a lesson for more than cake. I tried to shift the story again. I said our family understands that love is not a rule book, that it is a river, and a river changes banks. A cousin asked if a river carries people away when they stop paying attention. I said that sounded poetic, not practical. Marla asked if I could stop turning pain into lines. She said we were not to feed. I said I was only trying to keep the room from breaking. She said the room had already cracked, and now adults had to make it safe for children. We ate cake. It tasted like sugar and something flat. I watched Owen help the server divide slices. No show, no pause. He did not look at me when he passed a plate. He said, "Thank you to the busser who filled the water." Theo asked if we could go to the park after so he could run off the frosting. Rena said the light would be pretty for photos. Marla said the park would be good. We gathered coats. My phone buzzed against my thigh. A message from Cade came with only a triangle and a time. I slid the phone deep in my pocket and told myself to ignore it. Owen picked up the check before anyone asked. He placed bills in the folder and stood. He spoke softly to the server about the tip and nodded to Marla. He did not look at me. At the door, the teenager tried the lighter one last time just to see it work. The flame flared, then died with a short, sharp sound that felt louder than it was. I felt the room tilt again toward a place I did not choose. Candle lighter hisses and goes out as Owen's reminder, Riverside 12:45 p.m., is dismissed. Night pressed close against the glass. I stood on the balcony with my phone in my palm and told myself this was only a storm, not a season. The street below hummed. A car idled facing the exit, nose toward the road like it wanted a clean run. I said I would speak soft and smart and bring Owen back to the center. I stepped inside and closed the slider with a quiet click. 2 mugs waited on opposite counters. I pushed mine toward his. He slid his father away and said he wanted water. I said distance was a punishment. He said distance was space. I said space invites strangers. He said space invites air. I hated the shape of that line because it fit. The thin utilities binder sat on the table, but it was not thin anymore. Clear sleeves puffed the spine. I laughed and called it dramatic. He said order helped him think. He kept his tone level, not even tired. I opened the cover to show I was not scared. Inside lay bills, but also neat copies of things I did not recognize. I closed it and said we were not accountants. He said we were people with a home. He asked for the truth about the birthday night. I said the timing had been bad. He asked again, calm as a bench. I said Cade had needed comfort. He asked if comfort meant a bed. I said adults share rooms without sin. He looked at the floor and said promises matter more than names. I said the internet made everything big. He said the kitchen made it real. On his desk, a yellow sticky note read, "Bring forms." Beside it, a single USB stick had today's date, written in neat block letters. I touched the plastic with my nail and asked if he was doing taxes in October. He said he was keeping records current. I said it looked like a case. He said it looked like memory. His laptop woke when he sat. A clean desktop tree showed Archive A and Archive B. A Cloud Sync pop-up slid up and said, "File uploaded successfully." I leaned in to read, but he minimized the window. I said secrecy ran both ways. He said privacy was not hiding. I said those words sounded the same in the dark. He said they do not when the goal is safety. The guest bed in the spare room had a crease across the pillow, like it had held a head last night. I said he had made his point. He said he had slept. I said sleep was a message. He said sleep was sleep. He lifted the blanket and smoothed the fold. The motion was quiet and final. My phone buzzed in my pocket. A triangle emoji flashed from Cade and vanished when I swiped it away. Owen watched my face but did not speak. I said my sister had texted. He said okay. He put on headphones and made a short call, in a tone adults use when they want to be exact. I did not hear words, only the shape of them. When he took the headphones off, he thanked me for waiting. I said he was performing. He said he was planning. I tried tenderness. I said I had been scared of small years and empty rooms. I said I chased noise because quiet sounded like failure. He said quiet sounded like peace when people tell each other the truth. I said I could fix the story if he stood in one photo with me tomorrow. He said he would not be content. I said one caption would help his image. He said he did not need rescue. He opened a spreadsheet. Only initials and dates filled the columns. I asked what the letters meant. He said they were places and days. I said it was creepy. He said it was a map. He minimized the sheet when I stepped closer. He did not hide the motion. He made it slow and simple, like closing a window in rain. The shredder in the corner gave a short hum and then stopped. He said it was junk mail. I said junk mail does not need shredding. He said habits build calm. He moved the mail stack with 2 fingers, flipped 3 envelopes, and left one face up like a flag. I asked if he planned to show it to his mother. He said he planned to keep order. I called him cold. He said he would not fight. I softened my voice and offered half an apology. I said missing his birthday had been bad optics. He said it had been a broken promise. I said, promises can bend when someone is in pain. He said promises should bend toward home. I said I had returned. He said I had returned late. He poured water, drank, and set the glass on a coaster. He looked at the 2 mugs waiting like strangers and did not move them. I moved mine again to his side. He did not stop me. He did not follow either. The distance between cups stayed, even with mine scooted close. It felt like a picture he wanted me to study. I tried one last push. I said if he kept this up, people would think he was weak. He said he did not live for people. I said I loved him, and I said all marriages need flexibility. He said ours needed honesty. I said I had been honest now. He said he was listening and also collecting facts. The words collecting facts fell like small stones into water. From his phone, a quiet alarm lit the screen. Paper drop, 6:50 a.m. He dismissed it with a single tap. I asked what paper drop meant. He said errands. I said errands sounded like plans with his mother. He said he managed his own day. He checked the time, then silenced a second reminder labeled meeting, personal. He set the phone face down and folded his hands as if to show they were empty. He stood and thanked me for talking. He said he would keep the house calm. He said he would not argue online or in rooms with cameras. He said he would handle matters properly. The word properly landed softer than anger and heavier than any threat. I asked what that meant. He said it meant clear steps, no scenes, and respect for everyone involved. He picked up his keys from the dish. A new, unfamiliar key hung on the ring and caught the light as he turned. I asked what door it opened. He said it opened quiet. I called that a line. He said it was enough. He put on his coat and checked the window latch. He did not look toward my phone when it buzzed again. We walked to the apartment door. The hallway air was cool and blank. From the parking level below, footsteps echoed, careful and steady, then faded. He told me to rest. He said we would speak soon. He did not promise me anything beyond that. He stepped into the hall. The door touched the frame with a soft kiss. I took one step after him and stopped. From the far end, the elevator woke and rang its bright bell. The new key on his ring flashed once and disappeared as he turned the corner. Elevator bell rings while the new key glints on his ring. The office lobby was cold. I stood by the directory with a caption ready. I asked Owen for a peace photo. He said truth was fine. A man spoke my full name and handed a folder. He said he was serving documents. I took them. The page listed a divorce petition with temporary possession orders, exclusive use of the apartment, a property hold, and rules on posting and tagging. I said this was cruel. Owen said he had promised proper steps. Security asked me to lower my voice. He thanked the server and walked to elevators. The camera blinked once.